Urdak itself exists in an anchor state, utilizing highly advanced dimensional shift technology to allow a static position at a subquantum level. This essentially inverts their position in relation to Hell. Both planes of existence are fixed outside the bounds of the known universe, a lower and higher reality. The Khan Maker oversees all within Urdak and now utilizes Argent energy to prevent the transfiguration. Khan Maker. Every 10,000 years, the collective Maker consciousness, known as the Singularity, births a Khan Maker, a supreme being destiny-bound to lead all of Urdak until the next Khan is born. The Singularity, which contains the conscious soul data for every Maker that has ever lived and died, processes and refines this data as a means of selective evolution. As hierarch of the conscious neural matrix to which each Maker is interconnected, it is physically impossible for a Maker to refuse the collective order of shared consciousness and disobey a Khan. This system has functioned without error since the creation of Urdak until now. With the disappearance of the father, the Makers are incapable of creating a successor to the Khan lineage, allowing the existing Khan to hold their claim to the throne indefinitely. Maker Angels. These revered figures serve as speakers for the Khan Maker, earning positions of leadership and high esteem within their species. Angels of Urdak are given with orator rings, golden halos fused to their armor as symbol of their status and rank. These divine beings occasionally gather in conclaves at the summons of the Khan Maker, but typically do not work together, instead being assigned as independent advisors and overseers among Maker-controlled worlds. Oh, zombies. Possessed by the influence of Hell, these once human underlings that follow in Hell's ranks are those that have been corrupted and deceived by its power, forsaking their own humanity. Those who have fully succumbed to Hell's control cannot be saved, becoming mindless, grotesque contortions of their former selves. No, don't do that. Imp. Scavengers of the underworld. Imps are among the most common of the beasts found on the scorched surface of the hellscape. Lesser demons of hell, the imp possesses limited intelligence, driven only by a hunter's impulse to seek out prey, a task for which the imp is naturally suited due to its innate capacity for violence. As a result of these attributes, the imp makes for an ideal foot soldier and is oft deployed in the warring legions of hell, easily manipulated and controlled by commanding highborn demons at the behest of sovereign chapters. It is common for the imp to appear at the front line of an offensive attack, an expendable resource unleashed in great numbers to overcome and break through the enemy front. Soldiers. Once frontline infantry fighting to protect Earth from the demon invasion, the Hell soldiers have been claimed by darkness, turning them against their fellow soldiers in the midst of battle. Gargoyle. Like their imp brethren, the gargoyle is an agile, relentless pack hunter. Native to the Sentinel world, this beast has plagued the Sentinel Guard for centuries. As one of the few demon breeds that could bypass the wall of defense of Sentinel Prime, the gargoyle could appear without warning and claim hapless townspeople before disappearing into the wasteland. Only the most skilled marksmen of the Night Sentinels can intercept this aerial threat, a peril which demanded ever vigilant watch over the city's perimeter. Lost Soul. The Lost Soul has its origin among the damned, former humans who have fallen from the mortal world, doomed to an unliving eternity as sin-branded slaves of hell. The damned are seemingly endless in number, their populations growing by the thousands with each rise of the black sun. For many, the torturous existence of crushing slave labor is all that awaits. The bodies of the damned are brittle, and those who become broken in labor, their bodies ruined, dismembered, or otherwise incapable of servitude, are transported to the pits where their souls must be extracted for further use. Those fortunate enough to escape this process are what inevitably become lost souls, their spirits transmogrified into physical form. The lost soul knows only madness, its memory a haunted image of its former mortal life. These creatures live a fleeting existence, roaming mindlessly, seeking that only which can grant them a final death. Maker drones. Erdek's population is mainly comprised of drones, beings that exist as extensions of the Khan Maker's will. Though each is endowed with their own unique identity, they remain biologically enabled to resist a command from their Khan, and so function in a perfect synchronized colony system. Drones never leave Erdek, their bodies not yet mature enough to avoid harm while crossing dimensions. Arachnotron. Arachnotrons are built with genetic material recovered from the remains of the original Spider mastermind. Bioengineered for cyber augmentation, while its actual body exhibits only limited mobility, the oddly cerebral qualities of the Arachnotron make it a prime candidate for the impulse-controlled prosthetic frame that it now permanently inhabits. The UAC facility responsible for the Arachnotron's creation, intending to engineer and weaponize demons of their own design, was overrun after an outbreak occurred inside of its assembly plant, killing everyone inside. The facility, still operating under the directive of the administrative AI, continues to manufacture Arachnotrons autonomously. Cacodemon. Hunters of the slow lands. The cacodemon lurks the bottomless and murky depths of hell in search of easy prey. An aimless wanderer, the cacodemon is mostly devoid of cognitive ability, sensory awareness, and otherwise commonly occurring impulses. Driven only by a singular desire to feed, the cacodemon is likely to appear whenever there is flesh to be consumed, bringing it with an insatiable propensity for hunger. It is said that the cacodemon bears some resemblance to the cyclopic titans of ancient hell lore, leading Sentinel scholars to believe that the forgotten titans might yet live on in some disembodied form. Carcass. The product of inhuman biomechanical engineering, the carcass was created in the labs of the cultist Enclave. Never truly living nor dead, it exists in a state of partial reanimation, its cybernetic armature simulating a living impulse within a decaying organic host. Divines as a mean to soldier's usefulness. After death, the unliving host can be only destroyed by severing the body from its cybernetic implants. Cybermancubus. Mechanized and heavily augmented, the Cybermancubus is equipped for frontline warfare. Equipped with dual-barrel arm-mounted mortar cannons, the Mancubus's integrated weapon system utilizes the body's naturally occurring biotoxin, refining this corrosive viscous membrane into a toxoplasmid ammunition feed. Siphoned from the spinal gland and funneled intravenously into the weapon conversion system, the corrosive secretion is discharged by an alternating firing mechanism which dispenses the toxoplasmid as either heated projectile or ignited fluid, the latter resulting in a flamethrower-like incendiary spray capable of burning through armored plating. Dread Knight. A variation of the Hell Knight breed, the Dread Knight has been modified and hardwired for aggression. Armed with the exoprosthesis powering energy blade augments, the Dread Knight is the lethal result of UAC cultist engineering. Epinephrine regulators modulate the Dread Knight with an unbroken flow of rage-addled adrenaline, while its endorphin receptors have been synchronized to respond with the use of its arm-mounted blades. With each kill, the Dread Knight is injected with a flood of artificial dopamine. As a result of its augmentation, the Dread Knight is driven by a biochemically engineered state of pure, unbroken rage, a suffering for which can respite the only found in the act of the kill. Hell Knight. The Hell Knight, warrior beast among demons, has earned its place over the millennia in service of the eternal archdemons. As imposed by the sovereign houses, Hell Knights have been long served as barbaric enforcers of the netherworld, impelling lesser demons by way of brutality, rare among demonkind for its innate regard for primal orders of hierarchy. The Hell Knight exhibits adherence to the prevailing rule of its demon lord masters, requiring little compulsion on behalf of its. Hell Knights readily serve the elder Hell gods for the extent of their lifespans, reaping great satisfaction of the way of war and desecration. Mancubus. The Mancubus, hulking behemoth of the demon world, bears notable difference from those of its kind first encountered by the UAC expedition team on Mars. Unlike its brethren, which wore naturally occurring armored carapace, this variation shows clear sign of pre-existing man-made modifications. Armor plating, augmentation to its exterior, and a sophisticated arm-mounted weapons indicate a clear intent to upgrade and weaponize the fighting capacity of the Mancubus, whose heavy stature and resilience make it a formidable threat in battle. Pain Elemental, an abhorrent creation of the umbral planes, the Pain Elemental is descended from the primal abdominal depths of the demon world. Knowing only its own torment, the elemental is cursed to forge lost souls within the fiery pit of its gut, a process that is excruciating and without end for the duration of the creature's miserable lifespan. The elemental's only reprieve for its own agonizing and torturous existence is the projection of suffering into the world. For this existence, the pain elemental reaps great satisfaction from indiscriminate killing and the infliction of misery upon those weaker than itself. Pinky. As hell emerged on Earth, the Pinky began to appear on terrestrial soil in great number, probably becoming the bane of existence to Ark military fortifications. Utilizing its armored frontal carapace, the Pinky is able to penetrate defensive encampments, breaking through walled defenses and using its ramming ability to upturn and immobilize armored vehicles. Arc deployments, depending on their ability to hold the line against encroaching forces of hell, could be disrupted and even overtaken by a single Pinky, were it able to penetrate and break through their defensive matrix, allowing a greater demon influx to pour in after it. The ARC rapidly prioritized the target status of the Pinky in issuing high-range bombardment to prevent the Pinky from gaining proximity. Prowler, a creature of darkness. A prowler hunts from the shadows, preferring stealth and concealment to open conflict. Imbued with peridial infravision, the prowler is able to see which is unseen to the naked eye. Known among the sentinels as the Night Stalker, the prowler's preternatal sense of sight makes it a lethal hunter, capable of tracking its prey even in the pitchish black of dark. Believed to be peripheral descendant to the lesser imp brooding, the prowler is rarely seen in groups, forsaking pack hunting for the precision of the solitary pursuit. Revenant. The Revenant program, a bioweapon experiment utilizing reanimated necrotic human tissue, was believed to have been destroyed with the collapse of the UAC facility on Mars. However, the emergence of the cultist enclaves on Earth, former UAC deviations now under Hell's direct control, have begun work on a second wave of production of the Revenant program. While much of the program platform's existing weapon payload is preserved as originally designed, the cyber neural programming has undergone modification. Pattern signals are wired to the host prefrontal cortex, which in turn simulate a state of frenzied, unrestrained bloodlust. While these signals are active, the host is incapable of thinking or feeling anything but a single compulsion to inflict death and violence on the living. Spectre. Born from an ancient screed of forbidden psychomancy, it was by the Ptolemaic inscriptions of the occult six-sealed eyes that the spectre was made manifest. Divined and desecrated ruins untouched by light for an eternity, warlocks of an abandoned sovereign house unearthed the verboten scripture, seeking rebellion by means of black magic against the rule of ancient infernal archdemons. By way of sorcery were numerous abominations and ungodly forms brought forth into the hellscape, among them the spectre, ethereal amalgam of the pinky. For their role in these miscreations, the archdemons would enact as retribution against its insurgents, an unspeakable punishment, a degree of suffering that would be without end. Whiplash. A scavenger of the hellscape, the Whiplash creature was first discovered by UAC expedition teams of the Black Desert of the Sanctum Wastelands. These elusive serpentine demons move with great speed and agility. They are capable of striking from a great distance with retractable bladed whips concealed within their forearms. This particular demon breed became an object of great interest to the UAC engineers on Earth, while attempts to capture live specimens of this nimble and unpredictable creature proved to be exceptionally dangerous. After successfully acquiring living specimens, researchers implanted cybernetic augmentations designed to enhance innate strength and lethality. Archvile. Forged from hellfire, the Archviles feared among lesser demons for innate ability to channel and manipulate the unholy powers of hell magic. Descended from the eldest race of demons, the Archvile has long held a place within the ruling caste of highborn demon kind. Possessing superior intellect among the demon ranks, the Archvile's psychomancy powers make it a natural-born ruler of the savage and primitive beasts of hell, capable of bending weak-minded underlings to serve its will. Baron of Hell. The Fireborn Barons have evolved, descendant clan of the Baron Hellbreed, and are indigenous to the caustic, scorched hellscapes bordering the burning abyss, a landscape of cragged spires forged from unbreakable black stone, tempered by the crashing waves of magmatic tide. These sulphuric plains of hell have long served as banishing grounds, a place of exodus to which the damned are sentenced as their final destination. The Fireborn Barons have evolved in this environment, sustaining themselves on the remnants of the damned, growing obsidian carapaces, and in time becoming infused with the very incendiary matter of hell itself. Doom Hunter. Already saw the Doom Hunter. Oh well. Once erased the... Wait. I've already seen that one. I don't need to read it again. I already read the Marauder too. Demon Lord... Oh, Tyrant. Demon Lords to the black soul pits of Babel. The tyrants have long served as wardens and slavers of the infernal pits. Weaponized and cybernetically altered by the UAC, the tyrants are tasked with overseeing all of the collection and extraction of sin-branded human souls from the mortal world, their role in hell, ordained by the unholy sigil of the elder hell gods. A sadistic master of lesser demons, the tyrant are feared for their cruelty and malice. Buff Totem. Incarnal manifestations of human suffering, these totems are formed from the tortured resonance of the once living, made flesh by the black arts of demonic psychomancy. A beacon of necroplasmic dark wave energy, the buff totem, once fully formed, radiates the surrounding environment with a dark cloud of hell magic. This energy possesses influence of great power for anything living in its caught in its wake. Demons, while in its presence, become adrenalized, their aggressiveness and bloodlust amplified. Inversely, these totems have become symbols of fear for humans who have encountered them, its presence tainting the mind with nightmarish terror. The propagation of these totems would ultimately necessitate the development of the Arc Mind Shield, a cyberneural implant which could immunize its soldiers from the psionic properties of the buff totem. Q-Ball. Former UAC engineers, these malformed zombies were rendered inept during the war for Earth. Their bodies are now a disturbing fusion of body, bone, and barrel. Tentacle. The subject of great scrutiny for ARC scientists on Earth. These hell growth formations have appeared all over the planet, taking hold whenever hell has made its presence known, forming chaotic, seemingly random structural patterns. The propagation of hell growth has taken root at an alarming rate. Exhibiting a cellular reproduction cycle that ARC scientists fear may become impossible to contain. The resultant environmental effect is extremely hostile to terrestrial life, producing atmospheric biocontagions and a multitude of organic hazards. Wherever these nest-like formations emerge, they are protected by swaths of defensive tendrils. Long thorn tentacles that demonstrate keen awareness of their surroundings, fully capable of disemboweling anything that seems to be a potential threat to the nest. Doomblade. A modification to the Praetor suit, the arm-mounted Doomblade is designed to keep the Doomslayer's short-range striking power strong enough to sever the demonic flesh and bone. The blade's serrated edge allows the Slayer to break through enemy defenses and attack where conventional weaponry is ineffective. Ballista. The weapon of choice for weapon Sentinel marksman is said in Sentinel battle lore that a single battalion of archers defend the walled city of Alcana for 10 days and 10 nights, armed with only their ballistas. A precise weapon, the ballista fires a twin beam of superheated argent, vaporizing its target on impact. BFG 9000. The BFG 9000 remains the most powerful weapon ever designed by the UAC, releasing a projectile of pure roiling argent plasma. The sphere of superheated energy undulates as argent tendrils lash out, drawn to nearby organic material and immediately producing a fatal explosion from within. Dr. Samuel Hayden recently deployed the weapon to Phobos, where it served as the inspirational linchpin for the development of the BFG 10,000 defense station. When mounted inside the station's magnification array, the BFG can be fired into a series of reactive lensing rings. These rings pump a constant stream of gaseous argent throughout the barrel, which ignites in reaction to the electrified plasma, producing a tremendous energy wave powerful enough to crack the surface of a planet. Chain gun. The M220 chain gun is a 7.62 by 51 millimeter AE 6-barrel autocannon built for infantry deployment. Weighing over 80 pounds, the M220 was conceived as a standard issue weapon for AE mech soldiers fitted with exo armor, mechanized suits capable of supporting a heavier payload. The AE cartridge uses special electromagnetic casing designed specifically for the MTTO's rail system, which increases projectile velocity and reduces overheating. Chainsaw. As renowned weapon masters of the Night Sentinels were professed, is the warrior that makes the weapon great. Albeit an unconventional choice, the chainsaw has become a staple of the Doomslayer's personal arsenal. For the kind of work that requires enemy dismemberment, the chainsaw is the right tool for the job. Combat shotgun. Despite a wealth of armament options for the modern combat specialist, this trusty workhorse remains a firm favorite among operatives. When matched against superheated plasmoids or gas-driven projectiles, the ballistic impact of the combat shotgun holds its own. The simplicity of the design ensures the weapon is extremely quick and reliable, yet the vast array of ammunition types makes it versatile and flexible. Colloquially known as the crowd pleaser, a locked and loaded combat shotgun will pacify even the most gratuitous of assailants. Crucible. A sacred relic of the Sentinel people, the Crucible remains one of the most mysterious artifacts known to man. Text from Argentina reference the weapon in a revered, righteous manner, while Night Sentinels were known to employ similar energy-based blades in their armaments. The Crucible remains the only one powerful enough to reportedly slay Titan-class demons. Only the Slayer holds knowledge of this venerated sword, for only has been known to wield it. The blade burns with an ethereal heat, immediately cauterizing flesh as it burns through. Equipment launcher. Custom built to fit the Doomslayer's Praetor suit, the shoulder-mounted ordnance system is modified to serve a variety of combat roles. Designed as a universal munitions platform, the equipment launcher is capable of altering its armament configuration with the press of a switch, activated by a reflex switcher located on the interior of the Praetor suit's gauntlet. In its flame belt configuration, the launcher spits a gout of fire exceeding 10,000 degrees Celsius, setting even the sturdiest of demons aflame. While in its grenade launcher configuration, the launcher fires a traditional UAC model frag explosive, a projectile-based payload not dissimilar to that of the ice bomb, wherein the launcher fires a EYE C40 gas canister to flash freeze nearby targets. Heavy cannon. A common complaint among users of this punch-packing conventional weapon is the weight, as most of the component parts are forged in tungstonium, a proprietary oil alloy developed to withstand the enormous stresses imparted by the optional exploding dart ammunition. However, the additional weight makes the The heavy cannon, an ideal sniper rifle, as swaying and tremors are mitigated by the massive bulk. Trigger management is of the highest priority when using this weapon, as self-inflicted gunshot wounds are common thanks to its no-pull reflex trigger system. Plasma rifle. Designed by the UAC's Military Tech Division, the plasma rifle is a standard and energy-based weaponry. Firing a superheated plasma in rapid short burst intervals, the plasma rifle is capable of overloading energy-based shielding and liquefying enemy combatants. Rocket launcher. Forged from the metal smelting pits of the Golgothian Inca, the Pain Giver is a weapon of pure malice designed for a singular purpose: to enact suffering upon the weak. A tool of insidious inset. It was not by mortal design, but the Pain Giver was conceived. The occultist engineers of Golgotha was as acolytes of the unholy and all-powerful will of the hell priest Ranak were bestowed with its vision scribes to the Ranak's dark premonition. With great clarity did the Pain Giver reveal itself to the shared consciousness of the Golgothan acolytes, and with fervor and religious zealotry did they set themselves toward its manifestation, toiling without rest until the Pain Giver was created. Super shotgun. A weapon from the Slayer's past. This double-barreled shotgun displays ornate, undeciphered filigree carvings. It also includes a modification, a twin-pronged hook anchored with a retractable chain designed for underbarrel usage. Though the firearm appears to be of earthly design, the meat hook attachment is comprised of non-terra metals, suggesting some level of prior history off-world. Its place in the Slayer arsenal in Hell has already been recorded, as noted in the following translation from the Ungmar Codex. The sting of the Slayer's indomitable arsenal casts fear into the lowest of our kin. Its blazing barrels of brimstone spew his vitriol and loathing upon us, and cast our breath into the dirt. Mark the venom of his chosen apparatus of agony, the diabolical musket, Lucifer's bane, its claw of pig iron gouging the flesh of the martyr and hurrying him upon us. Curse the name of his beloved treasure. Curse the Hellwalker's device of torment. We shall cast it into the smelter and gild his entrails with the slurry. Unmaker. A uniquely powerful weapon, the Unmaker is kept under lock and key inside the Fortress of Doom. Inspired by Sentinel weapon technology, this celestial firearm was created in Urdak by the ingenious invention of the makers themselves. Upon activation of the weapon, shutter ports slide open, and the Unmaker immediately begins launching rapid-fire volleys of condensed tri-directional argent bolts. The destructive potential of this alien superweapon is rivaled only by the BFG. And now, the history of the Sentinels. In the days before man first spoke, an immense shard of rock and metal was cast unto the world from the heavens. Thunder and cataclysm shook the land as the skies were torn asunder. The cosmic spear cleft a hole through our mortal lands, pole to pole, from the cold waste of the umbral plains to the fetid swamps of Iron Fang. The womb of the world opened in the Aramil, and the elemental wraiths, the firstborn, spilled forth. They took to the skies, fierce in their emancipation. In their exultation they brought vitality to the land, and all that they felt their breath was awakened from eternal slumber. Fierce beasts in an unforgiving biosphere rose. In the passing of their shadows, the wraith call echoed across Argent Dinner. First came the ancestrals, feral creatures invigorated by the magic of the wraiths. They grew to enormous heights, mighty behemoths who waged war with each other from years untold. Their battles tore the land asunder and destroyed all creation caught in their wake. The wraith call continued to spread across the land, and soon the Argenta emerged from their steps, our souls stirred and deformed by the power of the breath. The Titans towered over the wild-blooded tribes, but found them uncowed. The secret of the sword was discovered in the darkness of sweltering mountain fortunes. We beat steel until it was strong enough to pierce bone and sever flesh. Thus we came to be, born of rock and fire, lowly in birth but risen by the strength of our will, by the blessedness of the first ones. We forged sword and shield and took the hammer to the ancestrals. We claimed dominion of creation by right of blood and magic, and the time of man came to be. With the ancestral beasts driven back to their bleak valleys, we rose. We tilled the fertile land, husbanded beasts of burden, and built towering cities. In the hallowed palace on the obsidian throne, we crowned King Ormero the Father, the first of the line that shall reign in perpetuity. We built the cathedral of reflection to worship the first one and form the Order of the Day, whose priests paid tribute to the wraiths and appeased their tempestuous hunger. Our sons and daughters chose the path of the sword or the path of the alchemist, for each duty honors the god. Though our ways were righteous, we were not without strife. Storms and great quakes cast our spires down. Barbaric tribes laid siege to our fields in search of the great gifts Mother Argenta had bestowed upon our world. And the song of the wraith call threatened to drive lesser men into madness. We were not lesser men. We defended that which the first ones gifted to us, our lands and right to the bounty held within. We beat back the barbarian hordes and hardened our resolve. We rose above the fire, our bodies and souls tempered, and an unbreakable will was shaped in the forge of battle. What emerged was the heart of our legions, the heart of the night, the order of the night sentinels. In the time of grief, when King Extrex took the throne, a blessing came to the people of Argenta. White porcelain beings from a world above our own brought gifts to Dunur. Observers to our great deeds, admirers to our convictions, they sought to make bond with our swords and bring lasting order to our world. These were beings unlike any we had seen before. Sword and shield held no weight against them, for the ethereal flesh of the luminous beings seemed unbound by mortality. Able to move through time and space, they held sway over all dominions of the known and unknown dimensions. Through their ways we grew stronger, our society bolstered by their infinite wisdom and all-knowing power, assuring our people's safety for all time. In this world and the next, where we sharpened the blade and mastered our magic, they bolstered the soul and spirit. Death would no longer be the end for our people. The ones we called the Makers, our new allies in this brutal world, had given us the security in death we fought so hard to achieve in life. We would find eternal peace, and our minds would rest easy with the knowledge that those we fought alongside in battle would join us in the lands beyond the mortal plane. The strength of our ways, the purity of our essence, would be by Maker law grant us passage to the great city in the clouds. There our women and children, warriors and kid alike, would welcome us. We adopted the holy doctrines of the Makers, gifted in exchange with the chance to earn eternal rest for our immortal souls in blessed Urdak. The covenant we now hold under the embrace of our new gods fostered a peace we had never known, for they were unlike the first ones whose presence offered no paradise from fear and the uncertainty of existence in a harsh and unforgiving world. The Maker's embrace was warm and guided us into an era of spiritual prosperity. With machine and enchantment of the makers, the Argenta brought our newfound clarity to the disparate realms of the Empyrean void. We took flight with the support of our God, spreading the enlightened word to the Khan Maker. We discovered there was not one enemy, but many. Worlds and peoples unknown to the Argenta were unveiled, and we saw our own suffering reflected in their eyes. Our righteous army strode into battle under the banner of the Night Sentinels, and fought for the freedom of all peoples from the grasp of those who would exploit and prey upon them. Though we battled on soil not our own, the blood we shed in foreign lands safeguarded Argentinur and the sons and daughters that defended it. Though the strange people we liberated, new alliances were formed, and our beliefs became our own. Our armies swelled. As the Argenta traversed the stars with gleaming warflates, the Khan of the Makers approached King Roan on his throne. He sensed his god restless by her disquiet manner. The king and Khan spoke, and the god revealed she had foreseen a schism in the blood of the Argenta. A test would be required to identify its host among us. She spoke of a holy rite to be formed on the strongest of our warriors. Only those who had proved worthy would be tested, for the impurity could reside in only the most resilient of our legion, the divinity machine, a great tribute by Maker Scalaris, would help us to cleanse any impurities from our flock, ensuring our continued prosperity in this world and the Maker rule that awaited in the afterlife. The malicious one, if not exhumed from our ranks, would jeopardize our safe passage to the heavenly realm of Urdak. The dark realm was not amongst them yet, nor would he be for many generations. Only the Mother God, through divination and Maker sight, would determine where he stood when he stood before them. The Makers were truth, and only their unclouded eyes could find the one who was marked. The prophecy of the Unholy One was written, but through the ages the warning grew faint until only the Khan Maker herself and the high priests of the Order Deg still whispered of he that would one day come to threaten their way of light. In the time of King Novik, as the Argenta secured peace and safety through dimensions across time and space, an outlander came to us. He was not of our world and spoke an ugly tongue. How he first took step upon our land was unknown. Sentinel scouts had found the outlander bloodied, clawed, and near death, mumbling of impending doom and the forces of darkness. The scent of blood followed him, and the gore that stained his armor seemed not entirely his own. By Argenta law, the Lord would be judged in the Colosseum, where he would be given the chance of all who stray from the path to fight for his freedom. We knew not of this stranger. His mind seemed crippled with rage. He dressed in his attire not suited for our lands, and carried munition of arcane origin. We watched as well overcame his injuries, and in the blood arena he proved his worth. The Outlander's technique was crude and brutal, but the determination in his charge echoed that of any true-born sentinel. His war cry echoed through his Colosseum, as did the sound of his fury, and the guards cheered his banner. Rip and tear, they sounded as the beast pushed beyond mortal wounds and certain death. He would be gifted no rank, no title. The survivors in the arena were provided only one reward: the right to earn an honorable death while spreading the blessings of the Makers to those in need. The Outlander's determination was witnessed, his ravings documented, and through the word of the Order Deg, the Khan Maker had him brought before her. She set her minions to learning her tongue, for with his ugly words he spoke of lands and seas, creatures born of fire in a dark place unknown to the Queen and her caste. Yet another opportunity to expand the gift of the Makers to those in need. On the eve of the Black Star, the Dark Ones came from a world beneath our own, not through ship nor ephemeral vessel, but through the fabric of dimensions. Out of swirling fiery gates came horned beasts from a timeless realm. First one, then many crashing waves of evil swelled from the obsidian forest of the Argentine overlands. The Alorum clans from the eastern mountains fell first to the black hordes of devils, and the city of Talorum was slung under the weight of their charge. We sentinels rose to meet the beast with spear in hand, the might of the holy fleet striking back at the demons, but the dark gates from whence they came gave birth still to even greater hordes. A line of blood was drawn with the fallen on both sides, and the unholy wars began as the time of darkness became upon us. Unlike enemies of the past, we cannot contain the demons emergent from the dark realm. Their weaponry was not conjured from machine steel, but from the very essence of their very being. A dark magic not known to us in our many conquests had we grown overconfident, our victory serving to duel our blade as we drank in the glory of our expanding empire. Lost, we knew not how to prevail against this foe. The maker gods stood perplexed, and our engineers and priests scrambled to find the advantage in battle we so desperately needed. Unknown to the enemy, we were pushed to the brink of defeat, and our gods stood with us as we worked to find the answer. The Order of the Dag were the first to unlock the mystery of these foul creatures. The priests were able to capture several of the beasts and set about to identify the source of the power. It was then that the essence of the Dark Realm was discovered, not wholly unlike our own. This power was the life essence that flowed through their twisted form and powered their attacks. It could be harnessed to power our own weapons, giving the Argenta the chance to combat the demons on even footing. The priests believed that with greater knowledge of the essence we could discover its source and cut it off from the demons to strangle their armies from within, allowing us to regain the advantage we had cried for victory on the battlefield. The Khan Maker gave blessing to our majesty and directed the priests to delve deeper into the mysteries of the scarlet elixir from the demonic realm, for she sought only to return balance to our universe. Proper assimilation was required as hell stood beyond her influence. After great effort, the priests discovered more than they had ever hoped for. They learned of the true nature of the demonic energy and how it could strengthen those skilled enough to harness its power. The energy coursed through the malformed bodies of our relentless enemy could be used to end life or enhance it. The power to heal, to mend immortality, knowledge, and enlightened faculties beyond our understanding. With the demon's life force in the skilled hands of the sentinel priests and under the righteous gaze of the Khan Maker, our people would not only rise to victory over the unholy horde that clawed at our walls, we would move to a higher plateau of existence, ushering a new era of military science and industrial healing. No sentinel would grow sick. No maker would need to suffer for this transmigration that they so feared. All would be risen. None could ever oppose our peaceful ways and threaten our world again. True balance over hell and its legions, over space and time in this world and all others. We would dictate the order. United with the makers, we would find peace eternal. The Khan Maker demanded a teeth of the essence, and driven by her desire, the priests submitted themselves to her will. The Order of the Dag took counsel with the king, speaking only of the spoiled land sure to be found through the cleft in creation, and the opportunity to purge the new invaders from Argent Denur. We took the war to their cursed land, pressing through the gates of wizardry. There was one among us who seemed to know the true nature of these foul demons. It was the outlander, the stranger who had come to us from places unknown. He who had survived in the front lines longer than any sentinel-born prisoner had before. His passion for battle against the vile horde was evident, his lust for their destruction matching our own. Though Argent Denur remained a foreign land to him, his fervor caught the attention of inquisitors of the Sentinel Guard. Some whispering of a suspected allegiance he held in secrets with the demon. Silencing the credits, King Novitz deemed him worthy of selection. The signifiers brought a commission to our king, and it was decided that he would be lifted from the common rabble. Though no arena-born prisoner has ever been granted the honor, the Knight Sentinels broke tradition and deemed the outlander worthy of training. A number of disciples grumbled and chafed at the barbarian present in their ranks, but in the war with the demons all opportunities for even the slightest advantage was to be considered, and as they witnessed the strangers spar with their hall masters, they found him in an undying, unrelenting compatriot. This man was an outside friend to none, and yet rose to each time he was thrown to the dirt of the circle. Battered and bruised, his brow stained with blood, he rose with grim determination for the chance to face his enemies in armed combat once again. Time passed as the stranger was instructed in the codified matrices of their order. The ancient lessons of battle and brotherhood taught to all sentinels he could have sensed the opportunity before him. Soon all of hell would feel his wrath once again. Satisfied that he would not be a detriment to their prowess, the sentinels granted him his wish as they ventured through the hell gates with the stranger in tow. They knew no rest, fighting in the unnatural enemies and training under the blood moon of night. The stranger suffered exhaustion, wounds, and sickness, but asked for no aid and was offered none. The 3 times the night sentinels ventured into the gate and back, and upon every return the stranger strode more capable than before, his gait locked in step with the march of the sentinels, a disciplined and now controlled lust for demon blood ever present. The passing of years and the numerous battles with the demons indentured the strangers to Argenta's mightiest warriors, and no longer did they condescend him as a newly blood conscript, for to them he had become a brother in arms forged in war, an ally and a weapon. As we warred with the beast, the Argenta society grew, and under the watchful eye of the makers and through the endless power of the essence, while our generals were consumed with the unholy war, our culture was marked with a beautiful potion the enemy has provided us, the sweet elixir. It brought us immeasurable capacity, empowered us to reach farther into dimensions once thought to be beyond our grasp. Under the direction of our maker gods and engineering of our high priest, the weapons blazed and our war machines stormed. The throngs of the populace drank deeply from the well of energy unveiled by the priests, but we of the Night Sentinels took no part in their abundance. Some among us whispered accusation and warnings against this manner of progress, but they were quelled, as it was not our role to dictate the future of our people, only to defend it. As the black star ascended to its zenith, King Novak sat restless on his throne as a howling darkness began to assemble just beyond the mountain rise to the east. The blight came upon us in droves, flooding forth from the hell gate with merciless furies. They brought with them a monstrous titan, the dreadnought, a beast to rival the stature and menace of even the mightiest ancestral. The grotesque giant laid waste to all before him, crushing all in his path. This was a total demonic assault, striking at the heart of Argentina as never before. How was it that the behemoth could pass through the demonic gate without warning? We would never know, though the Night Sentinels believed treason was at play. Caught off guard, the Sentinels scrambled late in defiance of the Titan and his horde, and in his coming, the holy city of Terrace Nabad prepared for judgment. With the onslaught of the demons massed in the sprawling shadow of the abhorrent feed, the city shook to its foundation. None were spared, save those that fled north. The vile swarm ransacked our temples and palaces, burning our towers and feasting on the souls of our clergy. Yet the Night Sentinels rallied and held fast against the demons, though they were pushed back and corralled at the blood arena. As the dark of night descended, their swords remained potent and shred the enemy multitude with abandon. Amidst the unyielding ranks of the sentinels, when all other apprentices had fallen in battle, stood the outlander. "Rip and tear!" he roared. Ferocious in battle, the remaining conscripts of the arena stood in awe as they witnessed the beast who had once raged within their very selves, now armored alongside the shoulders of his sentinel brethren. He had risen where none had before, a true-born sentinel fighter, the very best among them. But though the swarm fell before their assault, the Titan remained invincible, for none could tame the behemoth alone. In the hours before dawn, as the night sentinels weathered the relentless assault, the Outlander held his ground at the foot of the great wall in the northern bend of the castle. Seeing his unending vigor, Samur, Chancellor to the Mother God, hurried the Outlander away under a veil of secrecy, and for reason unknown submitted him to a rite untold. This was heresy, for Samur received no consent for the Conmaker, nor did he receive her counsel. In the chapel of purity, the Outlander submitted himself to the divinity machine. There Samur Maker, the Seraphim known only to us only as the aid to the Mother God, blessed the Outlander with fierce speed and power to match his will. It was the method by which this transfusion took place that was most uncertain to us, for that we were of the knowledge that the Maker device bestowed onto the Maker so many generations ago was to be used by the priest only to find the purity among us. How could it be that device once that was meant to cull the sentinel breed of its contaminants could be then used to purify the Outlander's body and give rise to the one who would lead us into battle henceforth? Or rose from the holy coffin on that fateful day was not of the impure abomination the covenant warned us of. The hero within would come to be only known as the Great Slayer, the Time Walker, the warrior Khan, whose fire sword would blaze forth a path for the just and cut through the demonic horde with a vengeance that only a god king could summon. He rose unbroken by the ritual, his eyes burning with Maker magic. He took the crucible in his hands, and wraith fire leapt forth from the blade, and as only it would when held by a true sentinel warrior king. In our darkest hour the Slayer had been chosen, defying tradition, our most sacred laws, and the will of the great Khan herself. A stranger to our lands had been blessed with celestial might. With the coming of the Slayer, the Night Sentinels took the campaign deeper into the heartland of the demons than ever before. Mighty Atlans were brought forth, tearing paths through the hordes of hell alongside the Slayer and his army. The High Priest, along the guidance of the Mother God, had found means to gain entry to the innermost regions of the demon world, and with the Deeg's presence, new gates could be opened. Our war machines were unstoppable, wrought with Maker technology, enhanced by the very essence our enemies hurled against us as our armies drove deeper and deeper into the blood-drenched territory of the demons. Countless victories were assured with the power of the Slayer, for with the Alpha Infector at the fore of our pack, we brought certain doom to our foes. And though our hearts were pure and our purpose righteous, unbeknownst to the fighters of Argenta, and our wake and under the veil of secrecy, the Mother God has set her priests to build vast factories among the heathen's land, that she might gather the essence for further development. How was this deception began we would not know, for our focus remained only on the hordes of the underworld. Why then would we stoop so low as to consider our Mother God of betraying our covenant? The Maker God did not seem at ease with the unforeseen rise of the Slayer, and the Seraphim who had birthed the Destroyer in secret should vanish from Urdak, Precept, Isle, perhaps exiled for his heresy. Our legions rose unfettered among the unquenchable rage of the doomed Slayer, and his design led the Conmaker to find profit in his endorsement. It soon became known that the Slayer was the Maker's God machine, a holy relic reborn, sent to bring the Maker's word to the wicked and to smite those who would seek to harm all those who followed the path to Urdak. With the Slayer unwittingly cleaving a path for her The mother gods siphoned the essence, processing it beyond our knowledge into the fuel that would become known as the Argent energy. The Slayer cared not for politicity. He took no interest in the workings of our people, but set his task only on his desire, the destruction of the demons in their world. He no longer spoke for reasons unknown, although it was understood that his pills still possessed the ability, offering only guttural hefts of anger as he inflicted pain among his energy. For years he marched with the Night Sentinels through the fires of demon lands, and every return to our homeworld found much changed in Argent demeanor.